Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Talking Movies. Well, today we got a couple of movies to talk about, so let's get right into it. The first movie we're going to be talking about is Overboard, starring Anna Faris and Eugenio Derbez. After mistreating and getting a med student fired from one of her jobs, a spoiled, wealthy yacht owner gets drunk, is thrown overboard, and loses his memory. After his sister goes to the hospital and denies that she knows who he is, just so she can take over the family business, the med student he was mean to is coaxed into convincing him that he is her husband. Here's the first thing about this movie. I was surprised that I had to travel to go see it. I think the closest place was Springfield. I might have been at Lincoln, Illinois. I'm not sure. But given all the marketing that this movie got, I was really surprised it wasn't near me. And I'm also surprised that it was number 2 at the box office. I saw a trailer for this movie at pretty much every movie that I went to for the last few months. So, again, why did I have to drive to go see this? A bit of a disclaimer. I haven't seen the original 1987 movie starring Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn in a very long time. And I mean very long time. I barely remember it. So I have no real attachment to it. I did study up on it a bit though, so I could compare the two movies. But again, I did not go back and watch the original movie. Having not seen it in a while, the only comparison to the first movie that I can make to this new one that I noticed is that the doctor looking after Leo, Derbez's character, he mentions that the only other time he had ever had to deal with amnesia was with a woman like 30-some years ago, which, of course, is referring to Goldie Hawn's character from the first movie. But after researching it for a bit, a lot of the movies sound similar, but with the gender roles reversed and some other things changed to kind of be with the times and to actually make some things okay that probably wouldn't be okay now with the original movie. Like Leo is not married this time. He's a bachelor. Kate, which is Anna Faris' character, has 3 kids, not 4 like Russell's character in the first movie or in the original movie. The scheme is not Kate's plan, which in the first movie it was Kurt Russell's character's plan, but it's the plan of her boss from her pizza delivery job, and really pretty much everyone she knows is in on the scam. Her kids, her boss's friends, her boss's coworkers, her husband's coworkers, and everybody that gets involved in this small little town seems to be kind of in on the scam. Even though it's really far-fetched, the love story at least makes more sense in this movie. Again, that's not really saying much. But you can actually, in the rules of rom-com, can believe these two could end up together in a way. Again, it doesn't really work, but it kind of works better than the original. Again, that's not saying much. The movie itself, it's pretty by the numbers. If you've seen the trailer, you've pretty much seen the movie. Even if you haven't seen the trailer or even the 1987 movie, you could probably go into this blank and figure out everything that's going to happen before it does. It's pretty, paint by numbers when it comes to rom-coms for the most part. I mean, even the curveballs in this movie end up being obvious. Really, though, I didn't find the movie that entertaining or funny. It's a lot of run-of-the-mill rom-com jokes. And while I do get the appeal of Eugenio Derbez, I feel like these are the type of movies that he's going to be making for a long time, at least for the most part. I feel like he's going to get typecast a lot, and he kind of already has. Maybe he's okay with that. I don't know. I mean, he just seems like the type of actor they're just going to say, well, you were good, or we liked you in this rom-com, so we're going to throw you in this rom-com. I don't know what kind of range he has. I've only seen him in a few different things. I did find it interesting and kind of funny that, okay, in the original movie, Kurt Russell's character is able to fake everyone out and claim that Goldie Hawn's his wife because he had seen a tattoo on her earlier. Well, they do that premise in this movie too, and Derbez's character has a Speedy Gonzales tattoo on his butt in this movie, and I found it kind of funny that he had that tattoo because apparently he's supposed to be voicing Speedy Gonzales in a movie coming out soon. I don't know when it comes out, but he's voicing Speedy Gonzales. So I thought that was kind of funny, just kind of a funny little in joke. Here's the thing about this movie. It's one of those movies that especially fans of rom-coms, those die-hard fans, audiences are going to be way more forgiving of this movie than critics are. I know some critics liked it. Last I looked, it was sitting at 40-something on Rotten Tomatoes, but, depending on how much stock you take in that page. But I think fans that are, just enjoy this kind of movie, I could see them liking it, especially better than the critics. I'll tell you, there were 3 ladies in the theater I was in that they almost, to me, it almost seemed like they thought this was the greatest movie ever. I mean, they were laughing at everything, even things that, I don't even know if they were supposed to be jokes. But they were fine. They were having a good time, and that's okay. But for me, I was kind of bored. And again, I've seen too many movies like this that, the premise is just kind of dead to me. And this movie didn't really do anything that I didn't expect. It would have been nice to have some twists, but then again, it's not really that kind of movie. So, it's not really for me. I guess if you're a fan of rom-coms, you might like it. If you're a fan of the original, I know Brad loves the original, and he was bored out of his mind for this one. Again, I didn't watch it again. I don't really remember it, so I didn't really have a dog in the race or whatever you want to say. And it didn't. I didn't get really anything out of it. But then again, I've seen too many movies like this, so if you're a fan of rom-coms, you may enjoy it. But for me, it wasn't for me. Next, I want to talk about Tully, starring Charlize Theron. After the stress of having to practically raise a newborn and her 2 other kids, one of them possibly being a special needs kid, on her own, a mother takes the advice of her brother and hires a night nanny to help her. Before I talk about the personal reasons why I am reviewing this movie the way I am, I'll get my critic stuff out of the way. I thought the performances in this were pretty fantastic, especially from Charlize Theron. I'd be surprised if she isn't included in any awards talk for this movie. In a way, Ron Livingston's character kind of reminded me of me after me and my then wife had our first son. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Mackenzie Davis as Tully is a bit odd, but she's supposed to be odd and mysterious, so it worked. She comes off kind of, I don't know, aloof, or I don't want to say inexperienced in the world, but just kind of, yeah, I guess you would say not experienced in the world. I don't know. It's really hard to explain her character. She's supposed to come off as odd and mysterious, and she does. So, and it makes sense in the context of the movie. As for the story, I have to talk about something personal for you to understand where I'm coming from here before I talk about some of the story. In the context of why I'm reviewing this movie the way I am, is this: as a first time, when I became a father for the first time, I never really knew how difficult having and taking care of a baby was going to be. I mean, nobody's ready for it. I don't care what anybody says. And this is just from the father's perspective. Nobody knows how strange and weird and I mean, I'm not saying it's all bad, but it's just, I mean, it's a life changer. There's just so many different things that go into it, and nobody's ready for it. But this is even more so for a mom. But for me, as a dad, I learned a lot of lessons that really stuck with me even to this day. After going through what we did for the first kid, I vowed that if or when my then wife and I were to have another kid, I was going to plan things differently. Because, okay, for my first son, Andy, I took 2 weeks off. That's all I had. I had my sick time, and I don't even know what vacation time I had. I took 2 weeks off, though. I think I took all my sick time, or at least some of my sick time, some of my vacation. But I took about 2 weeks. Granted, one of the weeks we ended up spending in the NICU because Andy was born like 4 or 5 weeks early. I soon realized, though, that 2 weeks was not going to be enough time to really help out. So see, I learned some lessons as a new dad then. And I decided later that it had to change. I had to do something different if we had another kid. And when Rhino was born later, which it was like, Andy was born in March of 2008. Ryan was born in July of 2009, so pretty close together. When Rhino was born later, I took every bit of my vacation and every bit of my sick days, which added up to about a month. I had about 3 weeks vacation, and I think it was about 5 weeks, because I took everything. I can't remember if I had 2 or 3 weeks vacation. It was about a month or so, is the point. Just so I could stay up all night for the overnight feedings, letting my then wife sleep overnight. The only one that was really sleep deprived was me. I'm not saying she didn't work hard or anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting down mom here. I'm just saying this is my experience. I let her sleep all night. I took care of the night feedings. It went from, like 2 or 3 a night to 2 a night to 1 a night to he slept all night by the time I was going back to work. But for me, I was already used to not getting a lot of sleep because of the shift I work. So, we made it work. I napped when I could. But in the differences between Andy's first month and Rhino's first month, Rhino's went a lot smoother for everybody because, again, letting her sleep, she could handle the day a little better. And I still, of course, helped out during the day. I tried to take care of meals and things like that, letting her take care of Rhino through the day. And, of course, then we had Andy. So, there's lots to do with Andy, and there's big long story after that. I'm not going to get into that stuff, but just so you're aware of how I'm approaching this, how I viewed this movie, given my experience. Okay, before I go on to really talk about this movie, I have to kind of really talk about this movie. Now, this part of my review might get a bit spoilery. I'm not going to really try to ruin the movie, but some of the things I say might hurt your experience. So I just wanted to warn everybody of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend that. Look, I'm recommending this movie. So for those of you that just want to know if you should see it, yes, you should see this movie. Go see it, or at least rent it. So I would advise that if you don't want me to possibly spoil something for you, see it first and then come back and listen to what I'm about to say for the rest of the review. So, still with me? Okay, last warning. All right, here we go. My first real issue with this movie, and in a way. It's not a big issue, but it is an issue for me. Was with Ron Livingston's character, who's, of course, the father, not noticing what's going on with his wife in the middle of the night when Tully, the night nanny, is coming over to help. Okay, so the clues to what is really going on are all there, and the movie does handle them pretty well, but for a couple of flaws that kind of ruin their entire aha moment at the end. I'm just going to say that other than one very, very strange moment, his character never meets Tully, the night nanny. Even in his mind state, which seems like he's being kind of distant or needing distractions, because he got like promoted and he's working extra and having to travel some, and some of that I understand. But still, he'd probably still want to meet Tully at least once. I mean, just as the baby's father. Now, if he were a crappy deadbeat dad, right, I'd understand. Like, if he was just a total a-hole. But he seems like a decent father deep down, so I think he'd want to meet the night nanny. I mean, just as the baby's father, he'd just want to know who's watching his kid overnight. Also, Marlo, who's Theron's character, never tells her husband the name of the nanny, at least that I can remember. I don't believe she did, which again would have spoiled the movie's aha moment. Or at the very least, I have to say it would probably spark a conversation about coincidence between her and her husband. That being said, this is a character development thing. Not all people would handle the situation like I would. Maybe he was just too distracted, or, because they do play the fact that he's working hard and everything, but and there's just times his character seems like he needs a distraction, and he thinks everything's, good and everything. So, but still, it just bothered me just a little bit. His character works, right? I still believe his character works, but that little bit of, wouldn't he ask just these certain questions? It just kind of took me out of the movie just a little bit. But here's a real problem I had with the movie, and it made this thing made a movie that deals with something serious like what Marlo was going through feel a bit gimmicky. I can't believe I'm comparing this movie to these things, but really this is how I felt near the end. And again, this, if you're still listening, this could get spoilery. I almost felt like the aha moment was a bit too Kaiser Soze or Tyler Durden. Again, I can't believe I'm comparing them. Don't get me wrong, the movie still works. And again, all the clues are there and it all does fit together and everything. But it just feels like a gimmick. And the rest of the movie, at least most of it, until that weird moment where Tully meets Ron Livingston's character, I was really into this movie. I didn't know where it was going, but I was really into it. Again, all the clues are there, and it all does fit. But yeah, it just kind of feels, the ending just felt like a gimmick to me, and it just slightly just took away from it just a little bit. Look, I do still highly recommend this movie despite its flaws. The performances, especially from Charlize Theron, are really what make it worth watching. I don't know how you would do it, though. But if you could take away the gimmicky feel of the ending, it would be a way better movie. Still, though, I recommend it, and especially for her performance. And again, if she is ignored for any awards talk, it's kind of a crime. Coming soon on the channel this weekend, Life of the Party comes out, which is Melissa McCarthy's new movie. Breaking In, which is Gabrielle Union's movie about people trying to break into, I believe it was her father's house who he just passed away. Kind of a thriller. Also be getting back into Gino's Bad at Games. I think I'm gonna be starting a long form game here. I'm just trying to decide which one. I think I know which one I'm gonna start, but I just got to get it started. And we got lots of other stuff coming to the channel here. So if you haven't already, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. You know all the routines that YouTube wants you to, all the hoops they want you to jump through to follow this channel. I also want to say that over on Heisenerd's channel on Monday, we, instead of teaming up for a video game this time, we went versus playing Mario Party 4. If you go over to his channel, which you can find the link to his channel in the description below, you can see us go at it playing Mario Party 4. It's the Mario Brothers versus, I don't know if you call them the Wario Brothers, Wario and Waluigi. So if you guys want to see us go head to head, make sure to check out his channel. And again, thank you so much for listening. Got a lot coming up on the channel here. I'm going somewhere Thursday I can't talk about until next week. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Until next time, this is The Real Gino Reynolds. Peace.